Hello dear friends, this is Moscow Hawk speaking again, well from Moscow. So from here we have quite interesting news coming now today, and it's about that our legendary and very famous US investigation journalist Seymour Hersh. He has material that he claims proves that the Biden administration stood behind the explosions, the blowing up of Nordstream 1 and Nordstream 2. Those two pipelines were blown up in the beginning, the early hours, very early in the morning of 27th of September last year, 2022. So Mr. Hersh, Seymour, he has done a great amount of interesting material, for example, about the notorious person Osama bin Laden and his, allegedly connection with important people and so on. He was working for the New York Times for some time and so on. But this incident who took place in the end of September last year was very strange, notorious, and bizarre. Strange in a way, because the Western mainstream and politicians, they accused Russia herself of blowing up her own quite important infrastructure gas pipelines. The Soviet Union, they had huge contracts with West Germany even. Of course, they provided East Germany, DDR, with gas on a very low price, but Helmut Schmidt, Willy Brandt, and other leaders of chancellors of West Germany, they had this Realpolitik, Ostpolitik, and so on. They were quite often guests in Moscow, visiting Brezhnev, Kosygin, Andropov, and so those leaders, Khrushchev, of course, after the war. So West German industry, and one of the key factors of the Wirtschaftswunder, the economic wonder of West Germany, was these huge amounts on good prices with 100% delivery and no delays and so on of Soviet gas to the Western market. So the Americans, they have they told, for example, Tony Blinken, he said that the blowing up of Nord Stream pipelines made tremendous opportunity. Joe Biden, he all the time was opposing and mixing into Germany's foreign policy and the energy policy of Germany. And Victoria Nuland also, she said before the court, and she's numerous times she has claimed that it was necessary to stop this gas and energy cooperation of Russia with Bundesrepublik Deutschland, with Germany now, with the United Germany. The Icelandic Minister of Foreign Affairs, Þórdís Kolbrún Reykfjörð Gylfadóttir, the young lady with 4 names, before she was the Minister of Tourism, deciding where they should put up WC on the highways, in the highlands, nearby the gauges and so on. So with full respect, of course, she claimed that the Russians blew up those pipelines themselves. I was in Iceland in September and I was doing reports on this matter, and quite interesting allegations Mrs. Foreign Minister of Iceland made. So let's return to Hersh himself, so this is allegedly, of course, by his words. They began to deep state or American secret services, along with the military. They were working very closely with the Norwegians. This project began 9 months before the incident took place in the end of September. So he claims that they used NATO drills. NATO, it was Navy exercises in the Baltic Sea in June last year, of course, where US American divers from special forces put mines under the pipelines. Uh, and then they blew up those pipelines. It was a huge blow to Putin's, well, not reputation, I would say. Maybe somebody would claim so, but as to Putin's ambitions in order to establish a very close and huge economical cooperation with Germany. It was very interesting that after this strange incident, which, by the way, the Norwegian, it took place in Swedish waters. The Swedes, the Dane, Bornholm is a Danish island nearby, and Swedish waters also. Well, this is, of course, if you see it, this is here in the Baltic Sea, and those, yeah, I can show those lines. They come from the Finski Zaliv, from the Finnish Bay to Greifswald in eastern part of Germany. So Gazprom is the owner, huge gas company, state company, and also private owned company. But Gazprom 1 has been working since well, the 60s approximately. But Gazprom Nordstream, 2 is quite new and was supposed to be opened well in October. So Gazprom is the state company. Is the owner of the pipeline. They didn't want to so very much to build the Nord Stream 2, but Putin, he persuaded Alexei Miller, the general director of Gazprom, to begin this huge project of Nord Stream 2. It's quite interesting as well that the Russians, they weren't allowed to participate in investigation of this incident, the same as Russians and Malaysians weren't allowed to come close to the investigation of MH017 in Hague in Holland. And but well, that's another case. But according to Seymour, Jake Sullivan was one of those organizers on behalf of Biden and in very close cooperation with the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and one of those 18 other security services of the USA. So it's interesting that the Norwegians, he claims, Seymour, that the Norwegians took a very active part in it, and they had very many secret meetings in different cities in order to organize this. In end of this video, we just as a proof for how much Washington was opposed of this economy or energetic independence of Germany. Let's take a look at Victoria Nuland and her how she was sincerely glad that Nord Stream 2 and 1 were destroyed.
Like you, I am. And I think the administration is very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea. I personally, having been involved, along with my boss, Secretary Blinken, in all of those negotiations with Russia.
Are we expecting any of this to be front page or breaking news in the Western press?
Well, certainly not, because they can't admit that we are still ruled by the United States here in Germany. They can't admit that.